welcome back to Pokemon Episode Summaries. Today, I'll be doing episode 366, Pokeblock Stock and Berry. The episode begins with Ash and the gang finally arriving at Lily Cove City. Although they originally just meant to come there for like 2 seconds before going on the Lily Cove Ferry to make their way to the next gym in Deep City, they decided to have a nice little walk around the city since they had a nice view of the sea and they wanted to enjoy it. As they all examined the city and walked through it, though, May began to make fun of Ash, as Ash started to complain about being too tired to continue walking, as he and Pikachu both collapsed, with Pikachu complaining about walking as well. Basically, May was making fun of them because Ash always made fun of her for not being able to catch up and not being able to keep walking, although Ash rebutted that he was only tired from walking since he wasn't able to have lunch earlier on in the day since they were too busy going to Lily Cove. Although Ash and Pikachu were bitchy about missing lunch, on the bright side, they had collapsed right next to a bench, so now they could all chillax on the bench for a little bit. And everyone else soon got tired as well, so Ash declared that it was time for them to find a place to eat. Luckily for them, May revealed that she had actually bought a guidebook that described all the restaurants in Lily Cove, and she proceeded to talk all about them, although right as she did this, she was distracted by something else, a poster on a nearby wall of a building that described a local Pokemon contest tomorrow that was taking place in Lily Cove. Naturally, May wanted to enter, and she only became more inclined to enter when she saw all the beautiful Pokemon on the poster, such as a Salamence, a Sableye, and a Azumarill, a Spinda, a Kirlia, and an Igglybuff. May then declared that not only would she enter the contest, but she was going to win her 3rd ribbon, and she knew that she would need to train, so she asked Ash and the gang to help her, and they agreed, as they walked around trying to find both a place to train and an omelet restaurant that May had described from her guidebook. Basically, she figured that they should actually stop by the restaurant first, since they were all hungry, and then they would train. While they were walking, Ash and the gang were shocked, as despite Pikachu being hungry and tired as fuck, its expression, that was previously tired, changed, as he became very excited, and somehow gathered up enough energy to run off, leaving Ash and the gang to give chase. Wondering why Pikachu was so excited, until Pikachu ended up leading them to Lily Cove's famous berry market, and Ash and the gang were almost as excited as Pikachu by the wide variety of berries that were on offer. There was orange berries, pekka berries, citrus berries, and fucking a whole bunch of berries, you can see them all. Ash told Pikachu that he very much understood why he had gotten so excited, and Brock, seeing how basically every single berry that was known was at this market, aside from the super rare ones, suggested that they all check out some of the berries and potentially buy some, because they could have some useful effects. Just as they started to examine the berry market, though, they noticed a young girl with a Pokemon they'd never seen before called Grumpig, very frustrated. Why was she frustrated, you may ask? Well, she was trying to haggle with the owner of a section of the berry stand called the normal berry stand, because it was selling normal berries. Basically, she was complaining about how high the prices were, and yelled out to anyone nearby that anyone who would buy from this specific seller would get ripped off, although the seller tried to deny this. Before Ash and the gang could check out if the guy really was scamming people who was selling the normal berries, a man approached Ash and the gang, who happened to be selling free samples of normal berries, offering them to Ash and the gang and Pikachu. And he practically forced Pikachu some normal berries, as he had cut up some slices on a plate and put them out in front of Pikachu. And Pikachu gladly ate them because of how hungry he was, but despite his hunger, he actually really liked them. He didn't just eat them because he was hungry. The man then assured Ash and the gang that normal berries were delicious, and Ash, extremely hungry as well, decided to grab one to eat. But before Ash ate, Brock tried to warn Ash not to, but it was too late, as Ash had just ingested the berry and immediately felt the effects of what Brock was trying to warn him about, which was that although Pokemon were unaffected by the sourness of the normal berry, humans were very much affected. In fact, it was so sour that Ash almost passed out from the sourness. This led the man to apologize, admitting that when he said the normal berries were delicious, he meant that they were delicious only for Pokemon, and admitted that they were much better for Pokemon since they didn't experience the sourness. Ash was depressed now, not knowing what to eat, but thankfully, the man claimed that he was a genius on berries, so he was able to grow multiple kinds, including mango berries, which were a lot better for humans. So he put some on a plate and offered them to Ash. As soon as Ash ate one, he really enjoyed the sweet taste, and manages to eat basically the entire plate almost, and even though he was still feeling the effects of the normal berry sourness, the sweetness of the mango berry drowned it out. Just then, Ash noticed the young angry girl from earlier with her Grumpig walking by, now carrying a huge, heavy grocery bag, indicating that she did buy some shit after all. However, since her bag was so heavy, full of berries, she ended up tripping because of the weight. Ash and the gang were shocked, but they weren't that shocked because they did kind of see this tripping coming because she was stumbling around pretty wildly. Ash and the gang even thought about saving the girl, but they couldn't, and just watched in horror as all of her groceries from her bag spilled out, including orange berries, tomato berries, citrus berries, and pekka berries. But just then, Grumpig came to the rescue, as just before all of the girl's berries hit the ground, Grumpig managed to lift the bag with a few of the berries and some of the other berries up in the air with a psychic, and it then continued to use a psychic as it put the berries back into the bag and softly laid the bag back on the ground. Every single customer at the berry market had witnessed this great rescue and clapped immensely, amazed. Ash and the gang clapped as well, as Max identified this Grumpig as a Grumpig. The girl then got May's attention when she got back up, and when she explained to the audience that she really appreciated their applause because it showed her that her Grumpig psychic attack was really good, just like she was hoping for, because she was going to use Grumpig's psychic techniques in the upcoming Lily Cove contest. And we're hoping to win with the psychic technique. And the girl then wished her Grumpig good luck in the contest. As for why May was surprised, she was surprised at the fact that this girl was obviously a coordinator. And seeing how the girl was entering the Lily Cove contest as well, she would therefore be May's rival in it. May then decided to introduce herself to a new rival as a Pokemon coordinator, with the girl confirming that she was one as well, obviously, and also revealing her name, Kelly, and also introducing her Grumpig, who Ash used his Pokedex to learn more information on. Brock, much like Max, didn't need the Pokedex to identify Grumpig, as he could even tell from Kelly's Grumpig that it was very well trained, and Max added that May would likely have trouble dealing with it at the contest, noting its strong psychic attack. Meanwhile, Team Rocket was spying on Ash and the gang, Kelly and Grumpig, from some bushes, using binoculars, and although James didn't like Grumpig at first, because he believed it to be as ugly as his ex-fiancée Jezebel, they had seen Grumpig use its psychic attack and were very impressed by it, and they were so impressed that they were going to try and fight it so that they could capture it, suggesting that maybe trying to fight it would be a good way to make sure it didn't escape when they tried to capture it with their usual claw, confident that they could beat it. As Meowth went over the plan of not only capturing Grumpig, but bringing him to Giovanni, Wobbuffet popped out of its Pokeball forcibly, causing Jessie to recall it. Meanwhile, since May and Kelly were both coordinators, they happened to get along pretty well, so they went to a bench in the park to talk, with both of them sitting on it, while Ash, Brock, and Max came as well, though they didn't sit on the bench, they merely just observed the Grumpig. May was even getting along with Grumpig well, not just Kelly. As May examined Grumpig, she was the first one to notice the beautiful shining of Grumpig's black pearls, and this led Kelly to show Ash and the gang all the berries that she bought, and stated that she planned to make Pokeblocks out of them for Grumpig before the contest, adding that she was planning to make ones that she'd already made before, which were responsible for making Grumpig's black pearls as shiny as they were, reminding May that berries did different things. So in turn, that meant that they made different Pokeblocks, which also had different effects, so she had to use specific Pokeblocks on her Grumpig to make the pearls shine. Brock was impressed with Kelly upon hearing all this, stating that anyone who made good Pokeblocks was sure to be a good coordinator, because Pokeblocks and good coordinator went hand in hand, and he complimented Kelly some more. Max was also impressed with Kelly, stating that there was no way May could win her third ribbon, which pissed May off a lot. Max then questioned Kelly on how many ribbons she had, believing that Kelly must have had way more, though May just got even more annoyed at this, as she reminded Max that she was around as well. So Max should ask her some questions, instead of just her goddamn rival. And if May wanted questions, she would get questions, though not from Max, instead from Kelly, who asked May if she really had 2 ribbons already, amazed at this. May confirmed this, so Kelly begged to see the 2 ribbons by going up to May as close as possible, though May was shy and reluctant to show her ribbons. So Kelly and Grumpig tickled May until she was forced to show them to end the tickling. And May proved that she had 2 ribbons by showing them in her badge case, which left Kelly astounded at the fact that May had already gotten 2 ribbons. And Kelly then commented that the ribbons were very pretty, and admitted that she and her Grumpig would have some very tough competition if May had 2 ribbons. May appreciated how seriously Kelly was taking her, and proceeded to gas herself up a little bit by explaining how her Pokemon did really well in 2 contests, although she humbled herself a bit, noticing that she was getting a little too overconfident by admitting that she messed up big last time in her last contest, so she wanted a fresh start with the Lily Cove one. Kelly barely listened to this, though, as she remained jealous of May's 2 ribbons, opening her ribbon case to unveil 1 ribbon that she had won. Just 1. She hadn't won any other ones. This didn't matter to May, though. What mattered to her was the ribbon's beauty, and when Kelly took out her 1 ribbon to show it off from her ribbon case, May remarked how completely beautiful it was. Kelly then declared, as she held out an empty spot of her ribbon case, that she would win the Lily Cove contest to get her 2nd ribbon, so her and May would be even, although May denied this, stating that she was determined to win the Lily Cove ribbon as well. This whole exchange eventually turned into a little mini-argument, but Ash and Max were amused by it, as they noted that it was just the start of May and Kelly's rivalry. It wasn't genuine hatred for each other. And Ash loved seeing rivalries bloom, as it reminded him of his rivalries he's had throughout his travels, and Max particularly liked to see his sister actually standing up for herself, instead of just cowering away. Basically, he was glad to see that May was really determined about something, and not just moping around. Meanwhile, Brock was looking through May's guidebook of restaurants to look for the exact location of the omelet restaurant, as he was still hungry as fuck. Although Kelly soon noticed Brock looking through the guidebook when Brock asked her where the Lily Cove omelet restaurant was, as he couldn't find it, and upon seeing May's guidebook, Kelly took it from Brock super fast, and Brock tried to take it back, but Kelly stopped him, saying that most of the places in May's guidebook were old as fuck, including the omelet restaurant, as she finally pointed it out to Brock. Basically, the places weren't nearly as popular today, and she claimed that she had a way better place to take them to if they were hungry, adding that the place could also help May out in other ways. May was intrigued by this, and instantly wanted to go to wherever Kelly would recommend, but Max just accused May of wanting to follow Kelly so that she could potentially see her secret strategy for the contest, so that she could find a way to counter it, and suggested that May should instead go to the omelet restaurant because it was now unpopular and lame, just like her, and May got pissed off at this as she slapped Max and pulled him by the ear. Brock screamed that he felt Max's pain, and reminded Max of how Max would always pull him away for flirting, and asked him how it felt to finally be on the receiving end of getting pulled for once, leading Max to laugh, admitting that it was pretty painful. Kelly then insisted that Ash and the gang follow her to the place that she wanted to take them, so they all obliged, and as soon as they arrived at their destination, Kelly explained what it was. It was actually her and her mother's house, which also functioned as a huge Pokeblock shop that her mother ran. and she also clarified that not only did she bring May there because of the Pokeblocks, insinuating that that's what she meant when she said the place could help May otherwise, since, she could get Pokeblocks. Her mom also happened to cook really good, better than most restaurants. May was in fact very eager to go inside to see Pokeblocks, as she knew that there had to be Pokeblocks inside, and Kelly wasn't lying, as she saw the huge poster on the roof of the house that showcased Pokeblocks. So immediately, when Ash and the gang and Kelly went inside, they found themselves face to face with practically hundreds of shelves stacked with hundreds of different types of Pokeblocks made with a different variety of berries. Although Ash and the gang, especially May, currently seemed satisfied just looking at the goddamn Pokeblocks, Kelly remembered that they came for a meal, so she called her mother down, who was, the great cook, and once she came down, and Kelly introduced her to Ash and the gang, as Mrs. Otter and Ash and the gang introduced themselves back, Kelly instantly asked her mother to serve Ash and the gang something to eat, and Ash's stomach soon growled, solidifying his hunger, so Kelly's mother, whose first name was actually Otane, decided to give them some of her best cooking. Soon enough, by the time Ash and the gang and Kelly had sat down at the table, Kelly's mother had finished cooking and joked that it was merely a berry stew, before clarifying that it was actually named Lily Cove Stew, her custom town stew, also clarifying that it was made from Pokeblocks as well. Even though Ash was immensely hungry, he was extremely nervous to eat anything related to berries in any form after what happened with the whole normal berry situation. But Kelly reminded Ash that some berries are good for people to eat, and Pokeblocks, in their form, since they weren't raw berries, usually couldn't do any harm to humans. Keyword being usually, that there were a few that could harm humans, but Kelly's mother eventually quelled Ash's nervousness, assuring him that as a great cook, she knew about the ingredients she was putting in her food, and she knew that all those berries were fine. Ash was still skeptical though, so he waited for the rest of his friends to try the stew first, and he saw that they all liked it. Ash officially permitted Pikachu to eat the stew, and he himself did as well, and they both very much enjoyed it, just like the rest of the gang. Kelly's mother then left, happy that everyone enjoyed her meal, while Kelly promised that she would show Ash and the gang the rest of the Pokeblock shop if they wanted, so that they could make some Pokeblocks of their own, and potentially make a meal of their own with them, or in May's case, use them for the contest. Everyone seemed very eager to make their own Pokeblocks, even Brock and Max, not just May. Although Ash, on the other hand, was a little different, as he stood up and declared that he wouldn't be making Pokeblocks, as after eating, it had made him remember something that he was planning to do. May, Brock, and Max questioned what this was, leading Ash to reveal that ever since he battled Winona for his 6th gym badge back at the Fortree Gym, he had been meaning to find an opportunity to train with his Swallow to teach it the move Aerial Ace, and Pikachu jumped up as well, determined to help Ash with this, as the two of them set off to find a way to make Swallow learn Aerial Ace, leaving the Pokeblock shop. May tried to suggest that Ash teach Swallow Aerial Ace after he had made some Pokeblocks, although Ash rebutted that while May could be making Pokeblocks and training for her contest, he might as well get some training in as well, so that he didn't fall behind from May or anything. So, with that, he officially left into the fields by the Pokeblock shop. Kelly then took Max, May, and Brock upstairs in the shop to the Pokeblock crafting workshop that her mother often stationed, and it was then revealed that her mother was currently training 3 other trainers how to make Pokeblocks as well, and May watched intently as these trainers made their Pokeblocks, dropping their berries into a blender, pushing a button, and then waiting for a few seconds. May wondered if this was how Pokeblocks were created, leaving Kelly's mom to explain the process. Basically, some berries were put into the blender, which cuts and mixes the ingredients to make a Pokeblock. Whoa, so mind-blowing. And Kelly's mom also admits that the Pokeblocks were how she made her living, as she sold any Pokeblocks that were made at the shop, even ones that she would let Max, Brock, and May make. Kelly's mom then went on and on about all the different types of Pokeblocks that could be made, and Brock was intrigued by this, being the Pokemon breeder who, mixed berries in with his food, so he wanted to see if he could start feeding Pokemon Pokeblocks, so he decided to stick around, though not make any Pokeblocks himself, just watch others. Although Max got a little bored watching this, so he decided to go check on Ash to see how his training with Swallow was coming along. As for how Ash's training was going, he was outside with Swallow and tried to have it use Aerial Ace by having it fly up into the air, and soon after dived down toward a stick that was hanging from a tree that Ash had set as a target for Swallow to hit. However, as Swallow dived down, it lost control and landed on the ground head first with a thud, not even breaking the stick, which was the main goal, and getting his beak stuck in the ground in the process. Just after Swallow's failure, Max arrived, worried about Swallow after seeing it crash, and he admitted that Ash didn't seem to be having any luck, as Swallow just managed to get his beak unstuck from the ground, but was very tired. Upon seeing this, Max suggested that Ash call it a day with the training and head back to the Pokeblock shop, and Ash agreed, not wanting to put his Swallow through torture or anything, but just then, an old man appeared, laughing, and claiming that Ash's Swallow would take 100 goddamn years to learn Aerial Ace. Ash bitterly asked who he was, thinking that the man was maybe making fun of him, leading the man to introduce himself as Vladimir the Attacker, otherwise known as Vladimir the Move Tutor, claiming that he had saw Ash trying to teach Swallow Aerial Ace, and stated that if he didn't get his help, then Ash would never be able to teach Swallow Aerial Ace. And Vladimir went on to explain that as a move tutor, he could teach a Pokemon any attack. Ash and Max were left in complete awe and amazement at Vladimir's statement, believing it, as they bowed down to their knees, with Swallow also bowing down on his talons, as they all begged Vladimir to help teach Swallow Aerial Ace, with Ash trying to convince Vladimir to help them some more, by adding that he'd been interested ever since he challenged the Fortree Gym, trying to earn Vladimir's respect, since he challenged the Fortree Gym. It's unclear if this did influence Vladimir's decision at all, but Vladimir just said that he appreciated Ash and Max's determination, as well as Swellow's, to want to learn aerial ace, so he agreed to help them out and teach it. Very excited to train a Pokemon again, although he admitted that it would take a lot of hard work and practice to learn aerial ace, even with Vladimir's teachings, but Ash claimed he was ready for this, as was Swellow. So, Vladimir took Ash and Max to his training field by his place. And Vladimir then sent out his Pidgeotto, claiming that it was the best candidate to learn aerial ace, and it had learned it a long time ago, so he was going to have his Pidgeotto demonstrate to Swellow how to use the attack. And pointed out several targets on the training field, as well as a low beam, explaining that these would be tools Pidgeotto used to demonstrate. So Ash and Max watched intently as Vladimir sent his Pidgeotto up into the air and commanded it to use aerial ace, as Vladimir explained the secret aerial ace and the 3 main steps. The first step was for the Pokemon using aerial ace to dive high up and then go down, staying at an altitude that was low to the ground immediately after going up. The second step was for the Pokemon using aerial ace to speed up and go as fast as possible to make it go so fast it seemed as though it disappeared. And the third step was for the Pokemon to go full speed straight towards the opponent. Adding that in the second step, just barely not hitting the ground would be very beneficial to aerial ace, as it would give extra momentum. Explaining that Swellow's main problem that he saw was that it didn't angle before hitting the ground, so basically it didn't pull up quite fast enough, although you did want to get very close to the ground to give yourself more momentum, basically. Ash and Max watched Pidgeotto intently as it picked up speed and moved towards the ground. And then Pidgeotto straightened out with top speed and flew under the beam that was placed without hitting the ground, making Ash impressed, but also intimidated knowing that Swellow would have to do that same technique. Anyways, once Pidgeotto had passed under the beam, it slowly started to speed up and fly up once again, which Ash compared to an airplane taking off. Once Pidgeotto was high enough in the air, it was able to reach one of the targets and destroy it. The targets were of course meant to represent your opponent, while the beam was supposed to represent how you had to not go too high up to where you'd bump into the beam, but not too low where you would hit the ground. Basically, it was teaching the Pokemon how to get the perfect angle. Ash and Max were very impressed with Pidgeotto's aerial ace as it returned to Vladimir, and Vladimir congratulated it, although Vladimir suggested that now that he had shown Ash and Swellow a perfect aerial ace, it was time for Ash to train his Swellow. Ash was a bit nervous still, but he had faith a little bit that he and Swellow could master aerial ace, and gave Swellow some encouraging words to motivate it. Swellow was eager to try, so it agreed, so Ash, Vladimir, and Max adjusted the beam to the perfect height for a beginner like Swellow. Basically, the beam was a lot higher up, so it was way easier for Swellow to pass through it. And sure enough, Swellow tried aerial ace, and it easily passed under the beam and hits a target, destroying it. Although Ash didn't get carried away, as he knew that the beam was way too high right now for a proper aerial ace, and this was just a practice run. Though Ash knew that this practice was necessary, so that's why he continued to have Swellow practice, slowly moving the bar down a little bit more, so that every attempt was harder than the last for Swellow to properly go underneath the beam. Much to Ash's delight, Swellow was passing every single practice, going underneath the ever-lowering beam each time. So Ash thought it was finally time to stop the practice runs and go for the real deal, as he lowered the bar to only 2 feet off the ground, which was the proper aerial ace distance from the ground, hoping that Swellow could actually achieve the attack. Unfortunately though, as Swellow tried to duck, it ended up losing control and landed with the ground on the, with a thud, getting its beak stuck in the ground for a little bit again. Despite Swellow being injured immensely, it was still determined to train, as it immediately flew back up into the sky, shaking off its wounds, which impressed Vladimir, remarking that Ash's Swellow was incredibly resilient, and he promised to continue to help Ash and Swellow train, once again respecting Swellow's determination, along with Ash's. Meanwhile, May was making Pokeblocks while being supervised by Kelly and Brock, and started by chopping up some berries and putting them inside the blender, and then pressing a button on the blender to mix them together. Kelly stated, however, that May should have been very careful with which button she pressed, explaining that there were multiple buttons on the blender, and each button had a different function. And each function would mix the Pokeblocks differently, and would therefore make a different type of Pokeblock depending on the button that was pressed. And also, Kelly explained that the blender would show a different number depending on how well the Pokeblocks were mixed, and depending on the number, this would signify basically what type of Pokeblock it was, and how good the Pokeblock was mixed and all that type of shit. Sure enough, once May's berries were mixed into some Pokeblocks, the number 27 flashed on the blender, and the Pokeblocks came out, revealed to be some light blue Pokeblocks. Kelly congratulates May on making her first Pokeblocks, and she suggests that May test out the Pokeblocks on her Pokemon to make sure they were perfect for them, although she also added that before May did this, she should have someone like her, who had tasted many Pokeblocks before, try them out to make sure they at least didn't taste fucking poisonous. So, Kelly taste tested May's Pokeblock, but upon tasting it, she simply stated that the flavor was weak. Though it was still okay for a person's first Pokeblock, just a little funny tasting. May decided to taste it herself to see if this was true, hoping that it would taste better than Kelly had said, but she actually just found out that Kelly was being too generous with her words, as she made a disgusted face upon eating her own creation. It was gross as fuck. That's how you truly describe it. Kelly laughed, admitting that she was just trying to gas May up a little bit, and admitted that she knew based on what the Pokeblocks looked like, that they were meant to only be enjoyed by Pokemon, not humans, and even then, they may even not be liked by Pokemon either. there was only a slight chance, and revealed that if May wanted to have a really good Pokéblock that all Pokemon and humans would appreciate, she would need to use more berries. Specifically, 11 berries, since certain flavors could only be achieved with a certain number of berries. And Brock agreed with this, even though he didn't know much about Pokeblocks, stating that the more berries he added into his Pokemon food, the better the flavor would usually be. May acknowledged Kelly and Brock's advice, though questioned Kelly on how she was able to fucking remember what Pokeblocks were best for Pokemon or not, leading Kelly to take out a book full of notes on basically, what Pokemon liked what Pokeblocks, what each Pokeblock did, shit like that. And suggested to May that she should make a book filled with notes on the combination of berries she used to get the Pokeblocks she had just created, so that she never did that combination again. And then every time she made a new Pokeblock, she should write down the combination of berries for that one, so that she always knew which one she had already done, so she didn't repeat the process unnecessarily. May admitted that making notes was a good idea, but expressed her wishes that Kelly suggested this idea before May blended the berries for this current combination of Pokeblocks that she just did, because she admitted, panicking, that she didn't write any of the berries she used down, and she couldn't remember which berries she used, so that meant that she could just end up creating the same Pokeblocks again next time she tried. May then decided to throw off the apron she put on while making the Pokeblocks and go back to the park with Brock, Kelly, and her Grumpig, as she sent out her 4 Pokemon, Combusken, Beautyfly, Skitty, and Bulbasaur, and decided to try her luck, and hoped that she just would simply never have to make any more Pokeblocks again, and all her Pokemon would really like the light blue ones she made. Unfortunately for May, though, as soon as she gave Combusken, Bulbasaur, and Skitty the raw Pokeblocks, and Beautyfly some Pokeblock juice made from the same Pokeblocks, because it was an easier way for Beautyfly to ingest them, Bulbasaur, Skitty, and Combusken all were not fond of the Pokeblocks whatsoever, and they all made disgusting faces, and Combusken even fell over because of how bad they tasted. Although Beautyfly liked it at least a little bit, because it wasn't showing any bad reaction whatsoever. May sighed in disappointment, not happy with the fact that only Beautyfly liked the Pokeblocks, although Kelly stated that experimentation was all part of the Pokeblock making, and you obviously weren't going to get perfect Pokeblocks on the first try. And because of this, May promised that she would invent her own original Pokeblock recipe that would make all of her Pokemon enjoy it very much. Although Kelly stated that even though she did recommend this, May didn't necessarily have to worry about getting that perfect recipe for this upcoming contest, because sometimes Pokemon didn't need to enjoy the Pokeblock's flavor to take in their full effect, adding that she sometimes fed her Grumpig Pokeblocks that it disliked, but it still was able to do good in the contest, clarifying that the taste of the Pokeblocks didn't represent the effectiveness. And also added that some Pokemon didn't like bitter Pokeblocks, but sometimes that was the only way to raise their intelligence, since bitter Pokeblocks were known to raise intelligence, and that effect still took precedence over a Pokemon not enjoying the taste. May expressed concern, however, that her feeding all her Pokemon Pokeblocks with a taste they didn't like would make them hate her, and therefore ruin their bond, which would make it impossible for them to do a good contest performance. But Kelly assured May that bad-tasting Pokeblocks wouldn't affect May's bond with her Pokemon, referencing how she had fed her Grumpig Pokeblocks that didn't like the taste of, like she had said earlier, and Grumpig was still more than happy to be her contest partner and friend. May was relieved to know that she didn't have to make her own Pokeblock recipe right away, since the contest was coming up fast, but May then questioned Kelly on if she made her own Pokeblocks, or if her mother gave her recipes that she had already made, realizing that the book of recipes could have just been pre-written by her mother. Although Kelly denied this, stating that her mother didn't give any recipes, and she had to make all of her recipes on her own, and added that even though she did give Grumpig some Pokeblocks that it didn't like, her experimentation helped her find out what Grumpig's favorite Pokeblock was. And also bragged that because she found out what Grumpig's favorite Pokeblock was, along with the fact that her and her Grumpig never gave up and persevered, she was able to win the Lily Cove contest last year. So technically, Kelly had gotten 2 ribbons just over a period of time where the first ribbon was rendered useless because every year the ribbons expired if you didn't make it to the Grand Festival. Kelly then changed the subject a little bit, revealing that her main dream was not only to become a good coordinator, but also to use her skills as a coordinator to take over the family business, being her mom's Pokeblock shop, and also run Pokeblock making classes to inspire other future coordinators. Kelly then asked May what her long-term goals were, stating her assumption that she obviously had her sights on the Grand Festival, and suggested that her main goal was probably to become a top coordinator or a coordinator instructor, but May revealed that she was just enjoying traveling at the moment and had no long-term ambitions, even as a coordinator. She was mostly just being a coordinator for now to figure out if it was really the path for her, and hoped that through her travels she would eventually realize if being a coordinator was really what she was cut out to be, adding that she didn't want to be one, but she wanted to have a realistic goal and one that fit her best. Kelly realized May's point, admitting that there was no need to rush into the future, and you could decide things as you go. You didn't need to have a goal right away, especially when you learn things as you go in life, so your goals may change as well, depending on what you learn. Even though Kelly did understand May's point, though, and fully understood May's thoughts, Kelly declared that she knew that she had made up her mind of what she wanted to do. She wanted to win this contest, and eventually win enough ribbons to participate in the Grand Festival. May wished Kelly good luck on accomplishing her goal of getting to the Grand Festival, though specified that even though she didn't know if that was her long-term goal, that was definitely her goal right now, and that meant that they were rivals, and because of this, she stopped giving Kelly good luck and simply declared that she was going to win, and stated that her Pokemon would do their absolute best. Kelly appreciated May's new determination she had, and promised that her Pokemon would give it their best as well, as would she. May and Kelly then expressed how happy they were to be rivals, but both confirmed that they wouldn't let their friendly rivalry stop them from being fierce competitors, as that was the whole point of being rivals. Kelly then prepared to leave, as May turned her attention back to her 4 Pokemon, stating that although the Pokeblocks may not be their favorite, they should just eat them anyways, because it would help them in the contest tomorrow. And with that, Kelly was about to wish May good luck as she departed to get ready for tomorrow's contest, and stated that even though they were rivals, she still wanted May to give it her best shot, and May said the same about Kelly as Kelly began to leave to prepare for tomorrow's contest. But before she could even take a single step, a huge claw comes out from the middle of nowhere and grabs Grumpig. At first, May, Kelly, and Brock wondered where this claw came from, although when they looked up in the sky, they saw that it was none other than Team Rocket who had grabbed Grumpig, as they did their motto, with Chimecho popping out of its Pokeball and jumping into the motto as well. May, Brock, and Kelly demanded that Grumpig be free from Team Rocket's grasp, but Team Rocket refused, as Meowth simply moved the claw upwards towards the Meowth balloon, using a remote control to grab Grumpig. Although Kelly saw that Team Rocket had not put it into their Meowth balloon yet, and Grumpig was trying to squirm free, which was making it harder for Meowth to fully pull up Grumpig on his remote control. To help out Grumpig, May then had her Combuskin jump up and use Sky Uppercut on the Meowth balloon, knocking the Meowth balloon down and freeing Grumpig from the claw, destroying the claw. Although Kelly panicked as she informed May that even though Grumpig was free, it was now just falling to the ground since it had nothing to hold it up anymore. So May took action, as she had her Bulbasaur prevent Grumpig from suffering an injury by using Vine Whip to grab it and then place it safely on the ground. Even though Team Rocket had already crashed, May obviously thought it was best to send them blasting off so they couldn't bug them anymore. So May had her Beautifly use Silverwind to do just that, sending Team Rocket blasting off. Kelly thanked May for rescuing her Grumpig as she hugged it once Bulbasaur released it from its vines, and stated that she was very impressed with Combuskin, and particularly its Sky Uppercut attack. Upon hearing this gives May an idea. Since Skitty and Beautifly had already gotten a chance to be winners in contests, and it was probably best that Bulbasaur not participate in a contest for a little bit after what had happened at the last one that caused her to lose because, Bulbasaur got too scared and all that. She decided that she was going to use Combuskin since it was her first Pokemon, and it was pretty strong now, knowing some pretty cool new moves ever since it evolved. Sure enough, Combuskin was more than willing to participate in the contest since it had been wanting to participate since it was a Torchic, but May didn't let it. Meanwhile, as for Team Rocket, they ended up blasting off into a trash dumpster, and when they tried to scramble their way out, it ended up tipping over, and this allowed them to crawl their way out. Jessie was the first of Team Rocket to get up, with the exception of Chimecho, because, it was still floating in the air, and immediately upon getting up, she glanced at all the garbage that had fallen out of the dumpster, and noticed an advertisement flyer for a contest in Lily Cove happening tomorrow. As Jessie examined the poster, as well as the image of the blue Lily Cove ribbon, and all the Pokemon on the poster, including a +1 Minun that weren't visible on the poster May found, Jessie became determined to enter this contest and win. Much to James' shock and confusion, Jessie then requested that James let her use his Chimecho for the contest. James didn't understand why Jessie had suddenly taken an interest in James' Chimecho after previously not being fond of it, leading Jessie to state that she had now gotten used to Chimecho and liked its power, especially its heal power, and suggested that her using a new Pokemon might bring her victory. James was skeptical about giving his Chimecho to Jessie still, although Jessie reminded James that she had let James borrow her Dustox for his stupid little Crossgate Pokeringer event. So it was time for James to return the favor and let her borrow his Chimecho. James was still skeptical, especially after Jessie had called the Pokeringer event stupid. But when Jessie instead basically pleaded for James to give her Chimecho, admitting that James had done a really good job with her Dustox in the Pokeringer, and she hoped to do just as good job with his Chimecho, James was flattered by this and accepted Jessie's request, and explained to Chimecho how Jessie was actually going to be its temporary owner while she participated in the contest, and basically told Chimecho to listen to Jessie no matter what, and Chimecho responded by simply wrapping around James' face with its tail, which was Chimecho's way of promising to James that it would do its best to obey Jessie, and therefore Jessie cheered, immensely hyped about using Chimecho in its first contest, hoping that she would be victorious, although Meowth sighed, not excited about the contest whatsoever. The next day, at the Lily Cove Contest Hall, a little ball of smoke erupted into the sky from outside, and also inside as well, on the main stage, where a crowd had gathered and started to cheer, signifying that the contest was about to begin, and Vivian then stepped out on stage and started to make her usual announcements, declaring that the contest was going to begin, and all that shit, as she then introduced the 3 judges, Raul Contesta, Mr. Sakizo, and the Lily Cove City Nurse Joy. We then see the crowd cheering for the judges, including Ash, Brock, and Max, as well as Pikachu. Brock and Max were eagerly awaiting the contest to start, and particularly waiting for May to come out on stage for her performance, but Ash got impatient when May didn't come out on stage absolutely fucking immediately, since he had other shit on his mind, and more important shit that he wanted to do, such as train Swellow a bit more to have it perfect Aerial Ace. Brock and Max insisted that Ash should stay and watch May's performance, although Ash retorted that he had just trained and he had come just to watch May's performance and she wasn't even coming out, so he was going to go out and train with Swellow and Vladimir, and he assured Brock and Max that since there was a screen right outside the contest hall, he could just grab Vladimir and bring him right outside the contest hall, and the two of them could train with Swellow while watching from outside on the screen May's performance. Brock and Max admitted that this was a good idea and didn't seem to mind Ash going to train now, so he got up with Pikachu and went outside to quickly go find Vladimir, before returning just outside the contest hall to view the screen. Meanwhile, James, Meowth, and Wobbuffet were also in the audience, and James was praying that Chimecho would not get hurt during the contest, but Meowth reminded James that Jessie was the one using Chimecho, so she clearly couldn't be trusted with not injuring a Pokemon by accident somehow, because she was fucking insane. James knew Meowth was right, so he simply just prayed that somehow Jessie would be able to handle Chimecho with no difficulty, and Chimecho wouldn't get hurt. Meanwhile, May and Kelly were just talking to each other to pass the time, when suddenly they noticed from the TV screen, along with a whole bunch of other coordinators who all owned a variety of different Pokemon, such as Poliwhirl, Flaffy, Mudkip, Gardevoir, Volbeat, and Swablu, that Vivian was showing the blue contest ribbon that was the reward for winning the contest, the Lily Cove ribbon, and this just made May and Kelly even more anxious to go out on stage so they could show off their skills to potentially win it. May and Kelly then wished each other luck, and Combustion and Grumpig wished each other luck as well. They saw that even though they were rivals, they could still wish each other luck. And as for Jessie, she was also in the waiting room, and had Chimecho physically backed up against the wall as she was introducing herself to it and was intimidating it, demanding that it win her the contest, or else she would turn it into a curtain. And Chimecho was obviously super frightened by this and cowered in fear. I don't think that boded well for Jessie's performance with Chimecho. Anyways, it was now time for the contest to begin, so Vivian officially called out the first competitor, which was none other than May, and the crowd, including Brock and Max, cheered for May when she came out on stage, and even Ash and Swallow paused their training to pay attention to May from outside as they watch, as she sends out her Pokemon, Combustion. And since it was the appeals round, and the Pokemon had to wow the judges with their moves, when Combustion came out of its Pokeball, it did a pretty nice flip, as Vivian introduced it to the audience, and Ash wished May luck from outside. Once Combustion had landed on the ground, May had it start off with a fire spin, and Vivian was about to comment on how beautiful it was, but it seemed as though it got too out of control, as it started to spread throughout the whole stage, scaring even Vivian and May, as May falls to the ground in fear, and because she was startled. Even everyone watching the contest in the waiting room and the audience, including Brock, Max, and Ash, were worried about what would happen. Even Jessie, Meowth, and James were worried as well. Everyone in the audience and in the waiting room and Ash then reacted in complete shock when they saw that the fire spin attack was about to engulf May and the stage and burn it all. The contest was about to be over, since it would be destroyed. Or would it? Find out next time on Pokemon Ball Z.